1-800-Flowers.com. Perfect Valentine's gift right now. Dozen multicolored roses, $29.99. Upgrade to 24, only $10 more. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Code HERD, H-E-R-D. Good to have you in. Rachel Bonetta sitting in today for Christine Leahy, who's out and recovering. She's been sick for a while. So Steve Kerr, I know Steve. I love Steve. I covered him in Portland when he was a member of the Trailblazers. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever covered. He's now the coach of the Golden State Warriors. I really like Steve. He was the most quotable guy. He's an adapter. He was a terrific broadcaster, really nice player, fit in with the Bulls nicely. I thought was a tremendous broadcaster. I mean, he was an absolute natural. He went and became general manager, a tough job in the NBA, really tough, in Phoenix. And it was the last time they were, kind of interesting. And then he left, and they haven't done much since. And then he goes and he takes over the Warriors, and he's terrific. But Steve Kerr, recently talked about LeVar Ball, and he was kind of disgusted how ESPN, who carries the NBA a lot of it, how ESPN was giving LeVar Ball attention. And here's Steve Kerr.
Somewhere, I guess it's in Lithuania, LeVar Ball is laughing at all of us. People are eating out of his hands for no apparent reason, other than he's become like the Kardashian of the NBA or something, and that sells. And that's what is true in politics and entertainment and now in sports. You know how many parents of my players have probably been at home going, why is he playing my kid? And yet we're sticking a microphone in front of his face because apparently it gets ratings.
Okay, so yesterday, firing back, LeVar Ball fires back, and basically, how long is this bite? I mean, he basically takes a shot at Steve Kerr. I don't even want to play the 40 seconds. I really don't. I'm kind of over LeVar Ball, but he calls him the Milli Vanilli of coaching. He's a fake and he's a fraud, and that's what LeVar does. And so it's back and forth, and LeVar gets attention, and that's what LeVar needs, and I don't want to give him any more attention. But here's the thing about what LeVar Ball said is that he's kind of overrated. This is Mark Jackson's team, which I don't believe, although I do think Mark Jackson defensively created the system and the importance of defense. Then Steve, I thought, took it to another level offensively. But here's the thing. Luke Walton won 24 straight games in Golden State when Steve Kerr was out. 24 straight. And now he's struggling with the Lakers. Mike Brown, who's been fired multiple times, another good dude, went 12-0 in the playoffs when Steve Kerr was out. Okay? Golden State is a very, very unique professional sports team. And I've always said this about companies. I could take over Google for 6 weeks, and you wouldn't see it eroding. 6 months, you'd see problems. A year, the company'd be bankrupt. But if you have a company with a clear vision and employees with defined roles, you can overcome, for brief times, average management, average coaching, average bosses. Golden State is so talented, and their roles are so defined, and they are one of the highest IQ teams of my life. They remind me a lot of the Miami team that had Battier, Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, Haslam, LeBron. You're talking about dudes that know basketball and are successful far beyond basketball. The Lakers, if you look at Kareem and Magic and Worthy, and, a lot of successful guys. The bad boy Pistons, how many of those guys were GMs? Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, John Sally, Rick Mahorn, Chuck Daly. Joe Dumars. Some of these teams, when you have very defined roles and a real point of view, and you have high-end, high IQ veterans, some of what LeVar Ball is saying is Kerr's a little overrated. No, what I would say is, over time, if Steve Kerr was not part of the Warriors, they would miss his intelligence. They would miss his subtle, nuanced sophistication in coaching, no question. I think he and Brad Stevens do the nuances, out of bounds, the psychology of basketball about as well as anybody I've ever seen in this league. Okay? But again, this Golden State team, I don't think anybody in this league is close to beating them 4 times in 2 weeks. Nobody is close to this team, and they are smarter than most teams. And LeVar has one thing right. This team is so well run and so smart and has such good employees, and their roles are so defined. If Steve Kerr left again for 4 months, they'd still win the championship. They'd miss him next year midseason. But I think it speaks to how good this system is. Kerr deserves a lot of credit for that. How smart his assistants are and how defined the roles are. Matt Barnes talked about this yesterday. He played for the Warriors championship team last year. He talked about Steve Kerr.
Coach Kerr has an amazing roster, and that's no secret, but players got to respect you. They definitely respect Coach Kerr, and I think the secret with him is he's been a player. He's been there. He's done that. And he's similar to Phil Jackson and Pop from the standpoint that if he puts you out there or you're in the rotation, he trusts you. So I think Steve Kerr's secret is, hey, he implement my system, what I want, what I don't want, and then just sit back and watch this amazing machine go to work.
Yeah. He's created a system. He can step back from the system and just jab. No big punches, no big blows, no overhand right. Steve Kerr's created this system, and it kind of, to a large degree, I guess he's a victim of it. It can run itself for long stretches. And I say that as a guy that loves Steve and think he's as smart and as successful. Very few people in the history of the NBA could play, could coach, could broadcast, and manage. I mean, he is in a rare air as an all-time guy. I mean, he's funny, he's quick, he could shoot, he could coach, he could play, but I think he's created a system that can live without him for extended periods. It really can, and it speaks to how great this dynasty is. I don't think anybody's close to beating Golden State 4 times in 2 weeks. Rachel Bonetta with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
All right, Colin. Rob Gronkowski, he's been out for 1 week and 2 days. He was concussed during the AFC Championship game. He is still in concussion protocol, but he posted this photo to his Instagram with the caption, "Locked in, ready to roll.
All right.
Minnesota, we here." So I'm sure he's eager to get back in. My question to you is, how big of an impact will Gronk have on the game? They won it last year without him. What do you think?
Well, I think much like Steve Kerr and the Warriors, they've adapted. He's been out so many times.
Right.
They're used to him missing time. It's almost like the Houston Texans defense, with or without J.J. Watt. They are used to J.J. missing spot. That's no criticism of J.J. or Gronk. I think when they lost him against Jacksonville, and they were almost more difficult for Jacksonville to defend because they had prepared for Gronk, and Gronk left, and New England adapts, and Jacksonville's like, okay, what do we do now? So I think he has been so injury prone. I don't think he has massive impact outside of the red zone, where I do think he is I've had coaches tell me this. He's the toughest matchup in the league. He's too big and strong for, like, secondary guys.
Right.
And he's too quick for linebackers. So I do think in the red zone, he's a touchdown-a-game guy if given the opportunity. So do I think he has value? Absolutely, but I think some of it's mitigated or reduced because of their system.
They could win again without him.
Yes.
All right, you're going to like this one. Las Vegas Bettor. He is anonymous. He is going by BetterX. He won millions of dollars in the World Series last year, and now he's gone around to numerous casinos. Okay, South Point confirmed that he bet $1 million. So he's bet over $1 million now. Other casinos, he's bet hundreds of thousands. And he's bet it all on the Eagles. All in. So does BetterX know something that we do not? Should we be listening to this guy?
Well, when the line initially came, I always try to, Rachel, guess the lines. So when the Super Bowl, the Eagles and the Patriots were officially in the Super Bowl, my guess was the line would be 5 to 5.5. It came out 6.5. So I would have bet Philadelphia hard if I was a professional gambler. Then the number came down to about 4.5. Now it's at 5. The line to me is exactly what it should be. You're talking about Brady against Nick Foles,
right.
Belichick against Peterson, 8th Super Bowl against none, and on a neutral field. If it's in Philadelphia, New England's probably favored by a point. If it's in New England, they're probably favored by 6.
Right.
I feel like the line now is exactly what it should be, which is 4.5 to 5 New England favorite. And I'll tell you, if I was a gambler, I would bet Philadelphia.
So this guy's maybe not so crazy.
Oh, so he took a money line. So now I wouldn't do that. Now then, money line for the uninitiated here. A money line means he's going to take them. He increases his odds in his favor. He's betting Philadelphia to win outright.
Right.
That's probably the play here. I wouldn't do that because I think New England's built for this game, and Philadelphia is going to be at some point in a crisis late in that game, and they've never been there, and I think that's a big edge for New England.
And this guy will be in a crisis as well, losing all that money. Okay, and then this one is my favorite. So Super Bowl opening night, I was there last year. It's very odd to ask a player at opening night a football question. It's usually ridiculous stuff. You're trying to get whatever you can out of them. So Extra got a hold of Tom Brady, and they asked him some ridiculous questions like, name any character from Game of Thrones, among other things. Take a look at this.
Name 4 actors who were just nominated for an Oscar. I have no idea.
No idea. All right, next one.
Who is hosting the Oscars? Extra's Hollywood focus? I have no idea. Kim and Kanye just had a little girl. What's her name?
Chicago?
I do not know. Name all of Tom Brady's kids. I know that.
All right, good.
Who's Aaron Rodgers dating? Danica Patrick. I saw that. Can you name any of the characters on Game of Thrones? You got to find someone who's more into pop culture.
Thank you. I have a lot in common with Tom.
So, hold on. My point is, he couldn't answer any of these questions, but somehow he knows all of the dating situations in the NFL. Like, I consider myself pretty up to date on pop culture. I could
Right.
probably name Game of Thrones characters, but I didn't know that Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick were a thing.
You didn't know that?
Did I miss the train on that one?
I actually, I knew that one.
But how hilarious is it that Tom Brady sits and watches tape all day long, but somehow knows the ins and outs of the drama? He's the Perez Hilton of NFL.
Yes, I can't believe you didn't know the Danica Patrick story.
I know. Well, you know.
See, no, I told you this. I've met Danica Patrick. I met her. I walked by her one time. Aaron's tall. Danica's not. And I mean, when I say Danica's not remotely. Yeah, she's like 5 feet.
She's a teeny tiny person.
She's a teeny tiny person who drives really fast, but like my first takeaway when I heard that was he's really tall and she's really not. That'll be interesting.
It's a good takeaway.
Rachel, thank you for the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Well, of the many things the Minnesota Vikings have going forward, they have tremendous wide receiver talent. Stephon Diggs, I know a lot of our audience plays fantasy football. I do not, but I can imagine he's on a lot of fantasy football rosters. He is a remarkable talent, and he's joining us thanks to Old Spice's Red Collection of premium scents, including new Captain, designed to help guys everywhere step up their scent game via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Stephon Diggs is joining us. So, first of all, you know, let's just forget about the Minnesota-Philadelphia game. It's hurtful. It was awful. You guys were flat. It happened, Stephon. It's just one of those bury the tape games. But I do want to ask you about Philadelphia's secondary, Stephon. Is it talented? How is the Eagles' secondary, personnel-wise, in your opinion?
I would say they're a solid group of guys. You know, they had a good game. They had a good outing against us.
Yes.
I would never say discredit anybody's work or different efforts. I would just say that, but they definitely get a push from up front. You know, they have an excellent front four. You know, them guys get a lot of pressure, so it kind of makes it a little bit easier job on the DBs to say, you know, the ball got to come out soon. You know, I would say that.
Zone, man-to-man, do they have tendencies? Are they physical? Are they more finesse? If I was going in to play them and I was a coach, what would you tell me about their secondary?
They're aggressive. They're going to be aggressive. Eyes going to be in the backfield a lot, and they don't have disciplined eyes. I would say that they do get a lot of pressure, knowing that the ball's going to come out quick. Their eyes will wander a little bit. As far as a DB, you know, eye discipline is huge. But you know, if you're game planning, I'm pretty sure they'll have a plan for everything.
Stephon, when the game was over, I said about the Vikings, I said, I love their future. I said, but I didn't feel great about Philadelphia because you came off a miracle win. And I'm like, there's no way emotionally. Good God, Case Keenum said he didn't sleep for 2 days. Can you look back now, Stephon, and do you believe that win over New Orleans was so unique that it was just you had a little bit of a hangover?
Yeah, it was kind of. I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep either. You know, I can agree. I can attest to that. Like, it was hard to sleep after that win. It was kind of big and somewhat emotionally draining. But as a professional, you need to be able to bounce back and refocus that new week because you're getting a new opportunity. For me, I was just so happy that we got blessed with another opportunity. I was in a position to make a play. He gave me a great ball, and it happened. But you got to move on from it, because if your goal was just to make it to the NFC Championship, then you're not aiming for nothing. So it's definitely unfortunate how it happened. But to have some type of hangover from that, I would say if it did happen, it was unfortunate.
Stephon Diggs joining us, Vikings wide receiver. Yesterday, Roger Goodell, the commissioner, came on my show, and I said to the commissioner, I said, listen, man, I'm a football fan, and I don't know some days what a catch is and what a catch isn't. Like, it confuses me as a fan and as a media member. Stephon, as a wide receiver, do you believe the catch rule needs to be tweaked, or are you okay with it?
From my standpoint, I would say, if it's talks of things being in conversation about the catch rule, that means obviously needs to be some type of, bar or some type of foundation on this is a catch and that's it. Because you can imagine how hard it is for a referee to be at whatever angle and see the ball move or see X, Y, Z and have to make a decision in a split second. It's definitely tough on both ends. As a receiver, my hopes are, if you get your hands on the ball, you get 2 feet, it's a catch. That's it.
Yeah.
But, it'll definitely be a little bit more difficult than that. But if it's in conversation, hopefully some things happen where as though we all can be at peace on what's a catch and what's a not. Because, we all like seeing touchdowns and, doing all that and plays being made. We don't want to have to take everything to review.
Okay, so the Vikings are in an interesting spot. Sam Bradford's talented, but he's been hurt. Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum. You're not going to keep all three. That wouldn't make sense financially. Mm-hmm. And, my takeaway is that the organization drafted Teddy Bridgewater high because he's their guy. And Case Keenum had a hell of a year, but you'd have to pay him a lot. I would choose Bridgewater. That's my takeaway. Teddy, they're all talented. Where do you think your team goes on its quarterback spot?
I think it's a good position to be in, considering the fact that, there's other teams in the NFL who are trying to find a quarterback, who are trying to draft a quarterback or go get a quarterback. But for us, we have talent here that we're trying to figure out what we want to do. That's above my pay grade just a little bit, and I won't be making the decision. But for me, I'm going to be happy. Those are all my guys. I've caught passes from all of them. So I feel comfortable with whoever they throw back there. Hopefully it works out for the best for all the men we got. But, we don't live in a perfect world.
Okay, finally, Stephon, I've heard players say this. When they have a heartbreaking loss, they can't watch the game. Yeah. After losing to Philadelphia that way, can you watch the Super Bowl, or are you just turned off by the whole thing emotionally and you're just going to go out and have a good time with your friends?
Mm-hmm. No, I watched our game like 4 or 5 times, just to see, where did it break down and, where did it happen at and the things that we could have did to do better. I like to challenge things take things head on, I would say. That was a loss. Very disappointing, but there's nothing that you can do about it. I'm more so about positive energy and moving forward. So I'm going to definitely watch the Super Bowl. I watch the Super Bowl every year. I won't be going to the Super Bowl. I promise you that. I got a rule. I'm only going to the Super Bowl if I'm playing in it. So, I want both teams to do well. It's going to be a nice matchup.
If I had to tell you today, knowing what you know about Philadelphia, do they beat New England in your opinion? Can they beat that disciplined Brady Belichick team that's so good situationally?
It's tough. That's a tough one to say. As we know, history repeats itself with Tom Brady. He's always had an excellent outing in the Super Bowl, and he's always put his best foot forward. So to see the Eagles come around and, make it all the way this far is definitely a blessing. I feel like Nick Foles had his best game against us. He performed really well, made all the throws. For the Patriots, make them throw the ball. I want to see them play. It's going to be definitely a great matchup to watch. It's hard to going against Tom Brady, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, now move that microphone so I can see your Old Spice shirt here, because I know your advertiser wants to get a little love on TV. There you go, Old Spice. Use it. Stephon, good luck. Good luck to you and the Vikings, my man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate you, big guy.
All right, there we go. Stephon Diggs, an absolutely great NFL player. Coming up, Philadelphia. Reel it back in a little. I'll explain coming up. Picking a rose for your Valentine. Rachel, I have memorized Valentine's Day. It's February 14th.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm sure your wife is happy to hear that, too.
She really is. I've really come around. Last year I forgot. This year I'm all...
Oh, jeez. It's the same date every single year.
I know. Yesterday I came to terms with that. I just got the Christmas and 4th of July down, Rachel.
Okay.
Every year it's February 14th. Okay. Valentine's. Don't screw it up. All right? People pick roses. How about this? A better way to show somebody how much you care about them. New underwear from Tommy John. In case you've been living under a rock, I should also point out with Tommy John, wedgies a thing of the past. Go anywhere line of clothing. This is great. Best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. No adjustment needed. Tommy John shop limited edition Valentine's Day gift sets. Yes, Valentine's Day gift sets at TommyJohn.com. And the code is HERD, H-E-R-D, for 20% off. Legs never ride up. Waistband never rolls down. Intuitive. Time-saving. Never shrinks. TommyJohn.com, code HERD.
New year, new phones for the family.